All right, welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. What's going on, people? We're currently live on Callin, Rockfin, and YouTube. Saying hello to all the people in the Rockfin chat. What's going on? Poppy Davis says, my grass is brown and short, no mowing needed. Yeah, mine is kind of doing the same thing. It's kind of doing the same thing. So it's actually not a bad thing necessarily, although trying not to let certain grass areas die for reasons that make sense to me. Anyways, hello all. Major Tom, how you doing? Kim Chanhalter. Judy Truitt says, I highly recommend retirement. Me too. Me too. Anyways, let's get into some things. Okay, so this is actually from about a week ago, I guess. 10 days ago. Sorry, I'm gonna mute this and play this. Let's see. Okay. Anyways, I saw this on another show, but this is a really great piece by Kim Iversen on the Dutch farming situation. She does a really great job of like telling you what is going on and what's happening. And we've been talking about this quite a bit, and that it's a nuanced situation, and she lays it out as a nuanced situation, and there's some very interesting things going on around the Dutch farmer protest. Basically, most of what she's saying kind of coincides and lines up with how I'm viewing it or talking about it or thinking about it. So I don't feel like I'm too far off the mark, and I don't feel like she is either, although there's some interesting things that are said. Is a longer piece. I don't know how much I'm going to play. Maybe I'm going to skip to another part of it, but I'm going to play the opening part, and then you all can check it out. And let's see. Maybe I can get this a little better. All right, here we go. Oh, hold on. Can't play it if it's on mute, can I? All right.
These past several days, massive farmer protests have broken out around the Netherlands. Dutch farmers are protesting new climate regulations that will close farms and force them to kill off livestock in order to curb nitrogen emissions. In response to the new regulations, which I'll explain in a moment, thousands of tractors and trucks blocked roads, distribution centers, and parts of the German-Dutch border. Fishermen have joined in on the protests and begun blocking ports. Freight and dock workers have joined in on the protests as well. Manure has been sprayed in front of some of the government buildings. Media buildings have been blocked with tractors, trucks, and surrounded with poo over reporting that labeled the protesters as extremists and militants. There's talk of airports soon being shut down due to the blockades. Essentially, the Netherlands could come to a standstill. Something has clearly gotten these farmers very angry. So what are these regulations exactly? Well, about a month ago, the Dutch Minister for Nitrogen and Nature Policy presented a national and area-specific plan to reduce nitrogen greenhouse gas by anywhere between 12 and 70%, depending on the area. The farmers in the most regulated areas would essentially be put out of business, and the Dutch government even recognized this when unveiling the plan, saying, quote, "There is not a future for all farmers within this approach. Basically, the government is putting you out of business, and it's all in the name of the environment." Now, we're used to talking about carbon emissions, but next on the chopping block seems to be nitrogen emissions. Nitrogen, which is a key nutrient for plants, is also a pollutant. Fertilizer that washes off the fields can end up in lakes and coastal areas, killing marine life. Airborne ammonia from things like power plants and engines contribute to smog and other environmental issues. But in farm-centric areas like the Netherlands, it mostly comes from livestock urine and manure. Now, in order to reduce nitrogen emissions, you would then have to reduce livestock. This obviously will affect and even put out of business livestock farms, but will also affect other areas of agriculture since many farmers use manure as fertilizer. And if we look to reduce nitrogen emissions, we can expect fewer meat farms and fewer grain farms since there will be fewer livestock to feed. On top of this, artificial fertilizer prices have been skyrocketing lately. With the inability to use manure, those prices are only going to go even higher. Some farms who aren't even subject to these new nitrogen regulations will go under just because of inability to secure fertilizer for their farms. The ones that can stay in operation will, of course, pass those extra costs onto the consumer, driving food prices up even more than they are now. And with less meat on the market, we're looking at a serious price crisis. These Dutch farmers know this, and that's why not only are they protesting, but many are supporting them. The media's attempt to smear them as extremists hasn't worked. Recent Ipsos polls show that the relatively new Farmers' Political Party, formed in 2019, has shot up in popularity over the nitrogen emissions issue. Currently, the party holds 1 seat in the Dutch parliament, but the polls show if an election were held today, they'd gain 11 more. And more support could be coming. The Netherlands is the second largest exporter of agriculture in the world, behind the United States. And what happens to their farms affects us all. This isn't just a small crisis only affecting Amsterdam. So what's been the reaction by the Dutch government towards the protesters? Well, police have been using tear gas on the farmers, and military tanks have been called in to deal with the blockades. The government has demanded tow companies begin towing tractors, but they're refusing to get involved. The Minister of Agriculture has offered to begin negotiations, but only on the condition the participants condemn the demonstrations. So this battle between farmers and regulations imposed by the government has been going on for the past few years. In 2015, the UN unveiled its 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and in it are aggressive actions to curb climate change. In order to meet the metrics, the Netherlands has been ramping up regulations despite farmers saying they needed time to adapt and to go slow or they will go out of business. The government initially agreed, but then climate activists soon sued and won. As a result, the government has had to go more aggressive against the farmers despite the consequences. And regarding climate metrics, the regulations have worked. The country's nitrogen footprint has decreased over the past 5 years in a row, but not because the farmers are adapting. Instead, since 2017, the pig population has been shrinking because the government has been paying farmers to close their businesses. With the latest round of tightening of regulations, the Dutch government has announced more multi-billion-dollar buyout arrangements, but has also stated they will expropriate the land from farmers who do not comply. They'll take their land. As farms shut down due to either regulations, the government just taking them, or rising costs, we can expect the looming food shortage to get even worse. These farmers protesting are sounding the alarm bell. It isn't just their businesses that will be impacted, it's all of us. Sure, they're worried about their own survival, but maybe all of us should worry when we can't get the food we need because it's either not on the shelf or costs way too much. Now, climate and environment are extremely important issues, and we should always work to improve our planet. But when people can't get to work or put food on the table, the question becomes whether or not we're going about this the right way. And I'm curious what you guys think, Robbie and Olai. What do you think about these? I mean, look, climate and environment are extremely important. But
Okay, I'm going to just pause there. I'm going to play a little more of this. Osama, I see you in the call queue, and I'm going to take your call in a few minutes. I just wanted to kind of get through this little section first. But what I want to say about this is she's mapping out the difficulty of a political solution to the climate crisis. You know, that it's very hard to tell people to stop doing what they're doing, to curtail their impact on the climate, you know, when we're already way in overshoot, right? And then the response from the police and the military, you know, to the farmers is over the top, and it's not, you know, this just lays out the difficulty and the depth of the misunderstanding by the general public about what is going on with the climate crisis, because the powers that be haven't been telling you what is really going on, right? and people really don't understand what's going on, and the average person doesn't follow the IPCC or the COP conferences, and what the average person gets mostly is a stream of denialism, right? When they're from other media sources, from alternative media sources, from politicians, right? You get a steady stream of, I don't know, I don't think it's that bad. Even Kim Iverson here says, was concerned with the environment. I am concerned with the environment. However, when I was concerned 30 years ago, they were telling me it's impending doom, and 30 years later, I don't see it. However, I forget her name, Malika, I think is her name, says, hold on, in my country, we're seeing, she's from the Bahamas, she's like, we're experiencing climate change. And Kim lives in Los Angeles, and I don't know how you cannot experience climate change or see climate change if you live in LA, but this speaks to the denialism that is allowed because you live in a very comfortable life in a Western society, and you have all the accommodations, and you're still living a very good, consumerist, capitalist lifestyle, and you still spend your days in an air-conditioned box, so you're not experiencing the climate change, right? You're not really seeing it firsthand. Although I think it's a little disingenuous for Kim to say, I'm not seeing it. I mean, you live in California, we have massive wildfires, we have a serious drought going on, so she's being, even Kim Iverson, I really like Kim Iverson, but when she says, I'm not really seeing the effects of climate change, I'm like, are you not looking? Are you not paying attention? Are you willfully ignoring the effects of climate change in order to say your point? It bothers me. It bothers me. Anyways, we'll watch a little more of this. And then, Osama, I'll take your call.
So is food on the table, and so is putting gas in the car. And now we're seeing all these regulations, and they're causing the price of goods to go up. These are people's everyday lives. This protest, by the way, so these protests have been going on in the Netherlands since about 2019. Massive protests have broken out in the Netherlands. Massive. I mean, they put the trucker freedom convoy to shame with how massive these protests are. And they're very serious, and they go hard with what they do, putting manure all over the place and blockading roads and whatnot. So these have been going on since 2019. Coincidentally, I suppose, or happily, I'm sure for the government, the pandemic then broke out. That then made the Dutch government go hard on the population and shut down a lot of these protests. But they're back, and they're back with a vengeance. And they're saying, look, you're putting more of us out of business. We will not be able to farm food. So what is more important? And this is the big question: our ability to eat or climate change?
Right. Well, I mean, climate change is important, right? Because we're looking at the disaster of the world, right? Without a world, if we go the direction that we're going, there'll be nothing. So I understand why I understand why this is very important. I cannot say one way or the other, because obviously we have the pressing present-day issues. There's a chance you, me, and Robbie won't even be here, you know what I mean, at the time in which we see our world suffer the ultimate consequences of the direction we're going from the policy choices we're going. But I'm also inclined to be sympathetic and care about the future, the tomorrow. So I don't know. I'm going to let you and Robbie handle it. I can't pretend to be an expert on this.
Well, right. I mean, it won't surprise our viewers that I very much default toward the other way, to not wanting regulations and restrictions, prioritizing some distant future that makes us all suffer now, especially when that suffering takes the form of food people can't afford, or gas prices they can't pay, or whatever else it is. The issue with climate change, which makes it so difficult, because yes, obviously we need to prioritize keeping the planet, in existence, is that our prediction, we don't know exactly for sure, right? It's a range of predictions. We know we're negatively impacting the environment. We have good ideas about what things we're doing that should be changed, but we don't know exactly, right? It's a range of expectations. This is how bad it could be by 2050. This is how bad it could be by 2100. And it's it ranges from catastrophic, constant superstorms or something, to just kind of not so great. If you happen to live on the coast, you should probably live somewhere else, right? So so it's we don't have absolute certainty for what the future is going to hold, but we do know what the costs of some of these regulations are right now. It's a lot of suffering. So that's what makes the trade-off difficult, in my view. Where it's an educated guess about.
Okay, so he's again describing the problem with taking action on climate change. The problem that is not being spelled out by the governments and by the IPCC and by the it's not really being laid out for people. Is like, hey, we've been doing this stuff for a really long time, and people expect to live this way forever and ever, and we expect to have all the and this is the damage that we've wrought on the planet because of our actions. So, unfortunately, because of a thing called physics, right? Because of a thing called physics and math, we're just not going to be able to do all those things anymore. Like, I'm sorry, that really sucks. I know it's but the thing is that's the difficulty of a political solution to this problem is that even, telling people that they don't get to live the way that they always expected to live anymore, sounds pretty threatening, right? Sounds like a threat. It sounds like, what? It sounds like, you hate humans. Well, no, we don't hate humans, but we actually want to take care of the planet. So, you're going to have to decide. Right now, humans have primacy and are destroying the planet hand over fist, right? That's what's happening. The current state of affairs is humans have primacy, we're destroying the planet. And the planet is losing, right? On the scales, people are up here and the planet is way down here. Well, we want to get the planet back up here. That means people are going to have to come down. You have to take it down a notch. That doesn't mean you hate humans. That means, hey, this is just the reality of physics, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, the reality of physics say, if you want to save the planet, you're going to have to cut it out. Sorry, of course, right? It's the farmers that are taking on the brunt of these, and maybe they should be. Maybe the government should be doing what they're doing. Maybe everything that they're doing is correct. Maybe, but their messaging is all wrong, right? Maybe the messaging is all wrong. Maybe the reaction is all wrong, and of course it is. This is tough, right? This is the predicament of climate change that we're seeing playing out, and will play out much, in the future. This will play out more often, right? Yeah, it's just a tough thing. But unfortunately, I'm just speaking generally, human beings, you had a good run, you had a good time, you had a good party there, high on fossil fuels, you had a really good time, and unfortunately that run is, it's over whether you want it or not, right? Whether you resist it or not. It's one of those things like, let go or be dragged, right? You're gonna resist it, and you're gonna come to the same pain. So you're gonna have to, if you want to take on the pain and kind of control how it happens, that would probably be a wise thing to do, rather than to go like, no, I don't want it. But that's the way, that's the way learning or evolving works for a lot of people. It's a way like sobriety works for alcoholics, right? Alcoholics don't get sober. They're like, what? I think it's a bad idea to be drinking so much. I think I'm going to take it down a few notches. No, alcoholics don't do that. What alcoholics do is they end up in jail. They end up, in the hospital. They lose their families. They lose their kids. They lose everything. And then they're like, shit. That's how it happens. So, I imagine that's how it's going to happen with humans. The humans are going to have to lose a lot of stuff, and then they're going to go, oh, damn. We're going to listen to a little more of this. I'm just trying to put out, it is a predicament. We are experiencing a predicament. And it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate predicament that we put ourselves in, and the answers are not going to be easy, and they're most likely going to be kind of painful.
How bad it will be and how much more we'll improve it. Because some environmentalist people will say, it's too late, it's all going to fall apart, there's nothing we can even do because we've already screwed up the planet so badly. And then others will say, well, we could make these improvements, but these aren't going to help. And so it's just a very difficult debate. But you can't ask people can't expect people, and any politician, and I will say this to Joe Biden, any political figure who expects people to put up with a lot of suffering right now, for some distant goal in the future, is not playing good. Is not playing the political game very smartly. Don't tell the people you're going to make them suffer right now.
And look, I'm somebody who's always been more of an environmentalist. I even wrote proposed legislation to the government, an anti-deforestation legislation at one point. Registered for Green Party at one point in my life, and I've been very much an activist for environment. However, I will say that back when I was 11 years old and I was proposing that legislation to the government, the issue was I was told at 11 years old, and now I'm in my 40s, I was told that doom and gloom was coming, that it's just right around the corner, that in my 40s I won't see trees, that there won't be any of this left. And of course, as a kid, I was like one of the original sort of sunrise kids. And I panicked and I thought, oh my gosh, well, we got to do something about this. And I became an environmental activist at the age of 11 years old. And now here I am, and we didn't hit that doom and gloom that we were.
Come on, Kim. Now you're being a little bit. You're ignoring some very, very heavy signals going on. And we're going to talk about some heavy signals.
Told back at that time, Dianne Feinstein has been sounding the alarm bell about doom and gloom for decades. And again, saying we only have 10 years left. We only have 10 years left. And that 10 years comes around and then we're not seeing that doom and gloom exactly.
Okay, so, and she's also misstating the problem. It's not 10 years left till the planet falls apart. When they say stuff like we have 10 years left, they mean we have 10 years left to act before it's locked in, right? And we've been hearing this for a long time, and now it's pretty much locked in. So even when you hear people saying, well, we got 10 or 20 years, we don't really have a window of anything. I'm sorry to tell you this, and that sounds really horrible and depressing. That's the truth. We don't really have a window. Now we have adaptation and survival. That's basically all we got. But that's, Kim maybe she misunderstands the statement of 10 years. 10 years left to act, not 10 years left until things fall apart. Again, I don't know. Maybe she's just not clued into the environmental movement like she used to be.
Happening. Now we are seeing climate issues, of course, but they're not to that level. So telling a person they have to starve is a challenge when then you say doom and gloom's coming, but then the person looks at you and says, you guys have been saying this for literally 30, 40 years.
I guess I have a slightly different perspective on this, I guess, as it pertains to the doom and gloom, because I'm from the Bahamas, right? I'm from Nassau, Bahamas. It's a tiny island, about 21 by 7. We're surrounded by water. And I very much so see the visible effects of climate control. When I went home just this year, the water is coming up all the way past the shore. It's eroding our beaches. I very much so see the consequences, especially when you look at hurricane season. Hurricane season has been decimating family islands in the Bahamas these last few years because of the effects of climate control. So I just want to make sure I put out, not because all of us are not experiencing, I guess, the major impacts of it, and doom and gloom does not mean other places in this world are not wildly affected. So I guess
okay, so I'm going to stop playing the clip there. But she's saying, hey, we are experiencing very obvious signals. And, I don't think you just have to come from the Bahamas to see that. I think you're seeing it. But it's interesting that someone from the Caribbean, right? Somebody from a vulnerable population is the one that's seeing that, right? Right, where the comfortable Western person from the U.S. is like, oh, I don't know about this climate change thing. It doesn't seem like that's that bad. It's like, all right, well, how protected, right, are you from seeing the actual signs or experiencing, fallout from climate change? Right? How shielded are you? You're shielded. You're still shielded. You're still okay. If you're still like, I've still got a job and I got some money in the bank and my house hasn't burned down yet, or I don't live right on the coast of someplace, Florida or something. You can go on with your life and go like, there's no climate change. I don't know what's that. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't see it. Right? But other people are like seeing it every day. It's affecting their lives. And so, I find this a very interesting study. This clip was a very interesting study in the predicament. Wendy DeLeese on YouTube says, a few years ago, the Minister of Agriculture in the Bahamas showed a video of furniture floating around his living room during a storm. His living room was more than 20 feet above sea level. Right. And she also, I believe Malika said, you know, the hurricanes are wiping us out every time they come through. We're getting, you know, blasted by hurricanes. Yeah. So Loopy A on YouTube says Lake Mead water level at an all-time low. Again, you just really have to try to not see the things in order to say, like, I don't know, I don't see any effects of climate change. It's mind-boggling. Anyways, all right, Osama, sorry if you still want to call in. Sorry I kept you waiting. If you do want to call in, can take your call. I just wanted to kind of go through that video a little bit. But what we're seeing too is, you know, while this is going on, while these farmers are protesting climate action, you know, in Europe, we have this massive heat wave going on, and it's, you know, we have the ever creeping reality of global warming, you know, kind of looking pretty obvious here. You know, I don't know how you explain this away. I don't know how you make an excuse for this or say that this isn't happening. But from Peter Dines, early modeling suggests a heat dome is building over continental Europe, which could lock in sweltering temperatures for the rest of the summer. We were just getting started with this. Just how bad could this get? Met Office senior meteorologist Paul Davies warned that European heat dome could create the conditions for a record-breaking summer of blistering heat to rival that of summer of 2003. Heat dome over Europe would cause high temperatures. Again, this is not an anomaly. This has been happening more and more often over the last few years. If you are paying attention over the last, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter in Europe, in North America, in Canada, and right? Heat dome over Europe. I read that. It is not hyperbole to say that we could be staring into the eyes of a historic, even unprecedented event. Anyways, we're going to look at more heat wave data points or, evidence in Europe. The anatomy of our looming heat wave. This is Scott Duncan. The cutoff low spinning to the west of Portugal is helping intensify the heat over Morocco and Iberia. As we speak, this feature will essentially act like Europe's heat pump. This is similar to what we saw during the ferocious European heat wave around the middle of last month. There was a heat wave last month. Right? Same with, I meant to actually show this one first. What's happening in India. What has been happening, they had an early heat wave in the spring, and then 2 weeks later, they're like, oh, we have another heat wave. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, oh, we have another heat wave. All-time records tumbling in Europe as the heat gathers momentum in the southwest. Incessant heat in China is also breaking very notable records with unbearably high dew points. Uh, 43.3 in Spain, that is super hot. Northern China, 40.9 C. In northern China, super hot. Yeah. And it just keeps going on. All right, we got a call from Fantomas. Fantomas, what's up? How you doing? Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I see what you're saying, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think she's. I think her reporting is really well balanced, and I don't see her. I see that she does right. She says I might be voting Republican. I don't think she said I will be voting Republican. So, I think she's where some people are at, right? Which is like, oh, I'm totally disillusioned with Democrats, right? But then where does that leave you? Where do you go from there? Do you go, I'm not voting it for anybody in the two-party system, or third party only, or do you say like, hey, I might actually vote Republican? Some people are there in that mindset, and I think she is too. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I see your point. I don't. Yeah. Hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here's the thing. Okay. So I agree with that. Hold on. Someone was saying that they can't hear you. Can you guys hear the caller? I don't know. Share the call. Well, no. I mean, it's on and it's in there. I don't know why it. Sorry. I mean, it should be. No. Come on, man. Okay. Could be you. Can you guys hear Phantomas now? Well, hold on. Hold on. I'm just getting a little. Somebody. Yeah, they're saying they can't hear you. I don't know why. Now, I mean, I hear you in my headphones, and I'm hearing you. Hold on. Just give it a second because there's a little delay. Can you say something again, Phantom? All right. I mean, I see some sound on the meter. I see some sound on the meter. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, nobody can hear you, and that's very confusing. Okay. Or if you want to jump out and call back, and maybe it'll reset it. I don't know. I'm hearing you, so I don't get it. I don't get it. Oh, you know what it is? Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. It might be my fault. It might be my fault. All right. Okay. Phantom was now say something. I think there was something was on the wrong setting, and
Mm.
I there's like setting. All my settings are all automatic, but for whatever reason, it just kicked out this automatic setting for the audio. Now try and say something. I think you're on now.
Testing. Can people hear me now?
Yeah. Okay. He should be in here. All right. Sorry, guys.
All right.
Hey, I don't have a producer. I don't have any help with this. Things go wrong and they go off the rails real quick. So
I mean, so that's the main problem with when you try to side with people who are, or when people try to side with other people who are anti climate, environment, and all of that. None of the logic. There's nothing rational. None of it makes sense, and they just keep talking about gold and coins and currency. And it's like, where is this going to get you? It's not going to get you anywhere if you're not going to have a depletion of water, air, and a quality
yeah.
of living.
Right. Right. Exactly. Like it doesn't. There is a. It's just a we're in a weird place where people are kind of almost there. With like, I see a lot of libertarians and people on the right saying like, "All right, we fixed your sound, so you're good." Uh, I see, yeah, people on the right, libertarians are like, "Yeah, grow your own food and you know, get a garden and go off grid but and get your supplies and prep up and all that stuff. But I'm like, you're without the information around climate change or without the understanding of it. And, hey, I'm like, man, get off grid. You should go off grid ASAP. And then when climate change starts kicking your ass, then, just let me know how that feels. Right? Like when you can't grow food anymore because your seasons are all screwed up, the weather's screwed up. It's too hot in the summer, too cold in the winter, or summer starts in January and confuses all your plants, and then winter comes back in March, right? Let me know how that's working out for you. It's just, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, and it is weird for Kim Iverson to say that kind of stuff to me. It is weird. I don't know if she's pandering to a particular crowd, or if she's just somebody who's confused about what to do politically.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I'll just close with this. I think the real problem is that when you start having this talk, and it's really, really difficult to have, is that so many people are trained in this position. That's their life. That's their career.
Right.
Well, that's they've done for so many years.
And you're making a good point, too. You made a good point before I got your sound on, that that there's an economic, right? If you turn people off by talking about climate change, and you do turn people off by like, I know that. The thing is this is not my living, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm not doing this for the money. I don't need the money to keep rolling in order for me to continue. Like, I'm doing this as a service, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it sure, I like to get paid. It's fine, but it's, I'm doing this as a service. I'm doing this because I believe it's important. And so, yeah. And I've heard other alternative journalists, people who actually totally believe in climate change, who are totally like down with a green agenda, say, I think it was Graham Elwood, said one time, he's like, climate change is a loser, is a ratings loser. Like, I don't do too many videos on climate change because nobody wants to watch. And that's because nobody wants to be told, nobody really wants to listen. And so that's, the thing that kind of sends up the predicament aspect of the Dutch farmers is like, well, if you're telling people, hey, you got to change your, right? Because Kim Iverson said they've been doing this for a long time. They've been protesting. The EU has been trying to implement these rules since like 2015. And the Dutch farmers are like, no, I don't want to do it. And they're like, but we got to do this. And so if you're trying to tell people something that they don't want to hear, then how do you make progress? How do you take action? How do you go forward? I mean, all I hear from all the libertarians is like, they're trying to tell you that you can't drive your car anymore. It's like, yeah, stupid, because your cars are emitting fucking poison into the air, you idiot. Like, but they're saying it as like, oh my God. It's like, yeah, you don't have any understanding of physics, or nobody's, and look, maybe it's wrong for me to call these people stupid, but because the communication has been wrong, right? Nobody's been telling them, nobody's been upfront. The governments, the corporation, nobody's been upfront with them about like, hey, this is the physics of where we're at. We done fucked up. We done messed up the planet, and we did it real bad. And now it's time to pay the piper. Sorry for your loss. Sorry to tell you this. But there's lots of people running around going, oh, well, they're saying that we're not going to have any more cars and we're going to have to ride trains and stuff. Whoa. Like, dude, come on, man. Can you grow up? Like, can you evolve already? And they already, they understand this more in Europe than they do in the U.S. And still, even in Europe, they're like, no way. It's interesting. Anyways, okay, what were you going to say?
I'll just close with this. Saul Williams has a new sci-fi musical about coal tan mining and hacking.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that. I follow Saul Williams on Instagram, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm about to watch it. I just purchased the rent. So I'll let you know what I think of it. I'll be really, really honest.
How much is it to watch?
I think it's like $3.99, $6.99, $3.99, $6.99. The Blu-ray comes out in August, something,
I'd be willing to fork that over. Yeah, let me know. Let me
I'll
know
let
how
you,
it is. Let me know how it goes.
I'll let you know if it's too art house for people. I think that's the one I'm gonna
Well, I
see.
generally like Saul Williams, so I
Yeah,
wouldn't be.
I did too.
I'd be surprised to be disappointed, but you know.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right,
Somebody else jump in the queue. See you
all right.
later.
Thanks, Phantomas. Appreciate it. All right. Yeah. So this you know this what was I gonna say? This disparity on information about what is going on with climate change. And I think, if I'm gonna blame or be upset at anybody, and I know, maybe it's not nice to call people stupid. If I'm gonna be upset at anybody, I would be upset at the powers that be that have been telling you buy, consume, consume, consume. Let's have some more, capitalism. Let's have some more bottom line. We need some economic growth, right? That's been their message it's just every moment of your waking day is this message from the people at the top. Do this, do this, do this, do this. Make sure you make a lot of money and go to school, make a lot of money and get really rich and, have all the stuff and own all the stuff and buy all the stuff and everything's going to be great. Like that's the message you're just absolutely just slammed into your head all day long. So it's really difficult, right, to go like, yeah, all that stuff we were telling you, since your parents were kids. Yeah, that's all a bunch of bullshit. Like, it's really hard to just change that up. And you can't change that up without most likely losing your own grip on the power levers, right? So it's back to the predicament. And meanwhile, there's just massive, obvious climate catastrophe happening in Europe while this protest is going on, which is, super, ironic. 43C, more than 3,000 firefighters battle blazes as EU offers emergency help and temperatures could hit 43C. Wildfires in Portugal have left 29 people injured as thousands of firefighters and dozens of aircraft battle the blazes. Authorities said 12 firefighters and 17 civilians required medical treatment for minor injuries. As reported by the Portuguese state broadcaster RTP and local media. By Sunday afternoon, Portugal's Civil Protection Agency said that more than 3,000 firefighters were tackling active blazes. Country is enduring a heat wave that is due to worsen, with temperatures expected to reach up to 43 C, 109 Fahrenheit. 109. I'm sorry, I'm not showing that to you. JF Sebastian on YouTube says every right-wing pundit is a denier, it seems, no exception. Seems to be pretty locked in. The climate denial, pretty locked in. I saw this. I don't even know where this is from. I think France. A fire going on. Incendie. I don't know where this is. It's people are speaking to this poster in French, so I'm assuming it's in France. Or this person works for France 24 television. I don't know where this is, but it's just a video of some fire. It's like a pretty big fire. Yeah. Meanwhile, in Lagos, Chigozi sent this to me. Floods. It's a story about floods sweeping away 3 siblings and 4 others in Lagos, Ogun, and massive flooding, which again nobody's not getting a lot of coverage. You'd have to be paying attention to understand. Oh man, there's massive flooding going on in Lagos. Wonder what's going on. I don't know. Three siblings in Ali Mosho areas of Lagos State were among numerous victims swept away by flood during the unprecedented rainfall in Lagos on Friday, July 8th, and Saturday, the 9th. All right, it's easy to deny the climate change if you're intentionally not paying attention, because it might be a bummer. Might be a bummer. Siblings Michael, 18, Elizabeth, 17, and Timmy, 14, were reportedly swept away while relocating from a room apartment at OK Isagun and Agbado OK Local Council Development Area, LCDA, in Ali Mosho. It's very, very sad. Yeah, and this is, again, over and over and over and over and over. We're seeing people being, impacted by floods. And if you live there, you probably be like, oh, it floods all the time now. We get swept out of our homes all the time. Our farms and crops are destroyed all the time by floods. People in India saying the same thing, in Bangladesh saying exactly the same thing. We're being, destroyed by climate change. While people with plenty of food and they're living in their air-conditioned boxes are like, I'm good. No, I don't see anything. I think they're making it up. Okay, quickly before we go, before we go, actually, YouTube, it's been great. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm going to sign off of YouTube before I cover some other things. See you all tomorrow at the regular time of 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time.